with the wrong time on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the #1 sports podcast, broadcasting Sundays at 9 a.m.-ish in Sacramento, California. Sports Talk 916. Now here are your hosts, Greg Bowl and Coach Greg Barroso.
Well, good afternoon. This is kind of a weird time to be doing this, but we decided to take yesterday afternoon off and come to you guys this afternoon. So episode 301 of this little shindig we call Sports Talk 916 coming at you. Up there is Mr. Chief, Greg Bowl. I'm Coach Greg. Together we're the two-headed monsters of Greg, and we call ourselves the Sammy Spearmans.
You didn't have to go there. Just trying to eliminate all that shit, but it's fine. Yeah, it is an odd time, but I figure we'll let yesterday's game settle in before we go on the air. I'm sure a lot of people are still at work and whatever, but we're going to get it done, and that's no problem. Yeah, good time. Good good games. You know, there's a lot going on, but you know, we'll have to check out a few things. You know, there's a lot going on in football. We picked a really bad time considering apparently Coach Shanahan's press conference is live right now and all 10,000 of our listeners are watching him. But it is what it is. Let's start off, before we get to football, let's start off with Sacramento Kings, because the Sacramento Kings made a move this week. They made a trade, sending... Well, it's actually, they didn't even make a trade yet. It doesn't go through until tomorrow because of Caleb Swanigan has some kind of like no sign clause. But Swanigan, Wayne and Gabriel, and Trevor Ariza for Kent Bazemore, a second-round pick, and Anthony Tulliver, who's expected to be released. Total cap move, bringing on 2 expiring contracts, getting rid of Trevor Ariza's contract. A yawner of a move, if you ask me. I mean,
yeah, I was just going to say the same thing.
There's not really much, you know, to come from that, obviously, with what happened, other than the fact that it is a move that was made. But I don't even understand the reasoning behind it. I mean, they're not going to get any wins out of it. If anything, they're probably going to get worse. The team,
I don't know if they're going to get worse.
The team chemistry is not going to get any better. I don't think Ariza was the guy that was causing all the turmoil. Like, I mean, there's a lot to take from it. It's got to be the first of a few moves. Like, that can't be the only move that they make before the deadline. But I just don't understand the dynamic of what's going on right now. I mean, the team
I think it was definitely just. I don't think it was anything more than a cap space trade, and I think if you try to read anything else into it, you're just going to drive yourself nuts, because I don't think there was anything else to it. You know, they need help. They're getting healthy. They're actually playing pretty well right now. They're up by 2 against Miami in Miami after flying halfway across the country. So, you know, like I've been saying since the beginning of the season, they have to get healthy before you can make any kind of decision on. They need help. They're getting healthy. They're actually playing pretty well right now. They're up by 2 against Miami is that you or me? After flying.
That's my bad. I was like, why did you say the same thing again?
I know, right? Although, and I saw, and I know you saw this too, the quote that Marcus Breton tweeted the other day about what Walton said. And basically what the quote was, somebody asked him, why is the team not showing any kind of effort on the defensive end? And Luke Walton's answer was, got to ask them.
Yeah, huge red flag.
Yeah, I've been, again, like I said, I've been holding off my decision on Walton because I don't think he's had a legitimate shot because he hasn't had his team together. I think I might be turning on that. I think maybe he is in over his head.
And that's perfect. That's a perfect segue into the question I had when I brought this up as a topic today. Arguably, the one player that we need to make a decision on right now is Bogey, right? Bogdan Bogdanovic is the one valuable piece that the Kings have to trade right now or to keep for long term. Would it be more beneficial for the Kings to part ways with Luke Walton and bring in the guy that they should have hired in the first place, his lead assistant, Igor, whatever his name is, the Serbian coach who was in Phoenix for a couple of years, who's Bogey's international coach over in his home country. I can't think of the hell where he's from.
Serbia?
Where he plays, Serbia. Would it be more beneficial to see if that coach is going to be better off coming through?
God, I don't know. Do you bring in a coach to coach one guy?
Well, he's going to get the whole team playing better than Walton is.
Yeah. But hell, you and I could do that.
Yeah, maybe. But we don't play sports.
I'm as frustrated about the continuous change in coaching than I am anything else. This organization doesn't allow a coach to do any kind of to get their feet on the ground.
They don't let them coach.
What?
They just don't let them coach. You can just end that statement right there. They don't let them coach.
And, there's been times where they've gotten good coaches in here and they haven't had any talent. Now we have talent. Contrary to what some people were saying this morning, a coach is going to make a difference. And, maybe I've been wrong on Walton. Maybe he wasn't the right guy to bring in. Maybe I can't imagine this team taking the same approach we did with Musselman, where as soon as he got his DUI, the team lost all respect for him. Do you think that part of it was the whole allegations that came with Walton?
Man, I don't know. I don't think that really had much to it, honestly.
Then let me ask you this: Do you think LA last year, the Lakers last year, with LeBron and the other talent that they had, should have been a playoff team?
100%.
I'm kind of starting to think that too. And the
full belief that the reason why the Lakers didn't do well with that roster is Luke Walton.
I'm not you got to fire a coach guy, and I don't think I ever will be, but he's got to look pretty deep in himself and figure out what's going on, or he is going to get canned.
I don't think he cares at this point. He knows he has guaranteed money. If he gets fired, he cashes his check all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just, it is what it is, and I don't know. It's going to be a long run, and it's going to be one of those things where Vlade's going to need to pull something out of his hat to figure out if they can make this team salvageable. They're going to make deals. If Walton's going to be your coach, you have to make a move to get guys in there that fits what he wants to do. So someone's going to have to go. I don't know. I'm at the point where I don't even want to talk about it. Like, do something different and then we'll talk about it.
Right.
It's the same dumb shit over and over and over again with this team, and I just can't handle it. So,
yeah, no, I agree with you. It's getting there's not an obvious answer there that you can point to going, if you fix this team is going to get fixed. There's nothing there. for every argument that somebody makes on why we should do one thing, so I can make an argument or somebody can make an argument the exact opposite, why we shouldn't do something. So, right. And it's pretty much from top to bottom on that. So I don't know. I see both sides of it. I mean, I can definitely see the argument where we need to clean house, but that puts you right back where you were. And it's 3 or 4 years that we're rebuilding again.
Yeah, but you know what though? We're really good. I mean, we have a really good track record of at least being in the lotto. I mean, we're in it every year. We're contenders, right? I mean, we got to
do a good job of being in the lottery. We just don't do a very good job taking advantage of the lottery.
Yeah, it is what it is. Let's do something fun because Sean Selby's on from Corner Pub Sports.
Oh, cool.
And, I went on Friday night with Sean and the boys talking about the Niners game. So we're going to work a little backwards this week. So we're going to talk about the Niners first, Niners and Green Bay first, and then we're going to talk about the Chiefs and the Titans, and then we'll preview the big game. But I went on there, and his co-host, one of his cohorts, one of his buddies, was.
Hey, I got breaking news.
What's that? Hold on. Wait. We actually have this thing. Nope, we don't. Just kidding. Go ahead.
Coach Kyle Shanahan said running back Tevin Coleman has dislocated right shoulder. Still awaiting more imaging. Shanahan said he expects him to have a good chance to play.
Good. So separated shoulder. That makes sense why he couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
All right. So
sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. Corner Pub Sports co-host Ryan was very bold in his predictions of the game and in opposing what I was saying about the game. And I've queued up some audio from that episode so that we can discuss the inaccuracies and we're going to call this segment Greg Bull Toots His Own Horn because everything that I predicted for this game pretty much went correctly, and he laughed in my face at a few of them. And so we're gonna address these. So the first one is I made a prediction that the game will be very one-dimensional, and that Aaron Jones will not run all over the Niners like he did Seattle. He would have less than 100 yards, and that it would be a very different game than what we saw in the matchup with Seattle in the divisional round. So let me cue the audio up here. So listen to this for just a second.
Spence, what do we see happening?
Got to take the 49ers D.
So he's right there.
The Niners run defense is going to be insane. Fred Warner, Quan Alexander are going to be just roaming, waiting for Aaron Jones to try to even do anything. He's not going to have 100+ yards like he had against Seattle. He's not going to be able to control the pace. They're gonna essentially be one-dimensional. And I will never ever discount the fact that Aaron Rodgers can destroy a defense, just like Russell Wilson. But I just don't think Aaron Rodgers, with the receiving core that he has, is going to be able to do it without the running game being effective. And this Niners run defense is just phenomenal.
You shut that.
So I nailed that one. And Aaron Jones finished with 12 carries and 56 yards. He did have a touchdown, but there wasn't much of it. Jamal Williams had 3 carries for 6 yards, and Aaron Rodgers had 1 carry for no yards. So Niners shut down the run game 100%. The next one here I have queued up, and I went on a little bit more about, if they shut it down, then Green Bay's and not really be able to do much of anything. This one here, he makes a proclamation about Jimmy Garoppolo. Listen to this one.
So,
like, if I was a 49ers fan, though, I'd be a little worried. That the 49ers aren't going to beat the Packers the way they beat who they beat last the Vikings. The ball.
No, wrong.
Wrong.
He keeps going.
But
No, Garoppolo's got to have a big game.
I don't agree with that though, in the sense that the running game is the Packers' run defense is good, but the three-headed monster that the Niners run out there, if they start with Tevin Coleman and Green Bay and the Smith brothers and their one linebacker who I can't think of what his name is right now. It's not Martinez.
It is Martinez.
Yeah,
similar to that. Basically, a middle linebacker who's a great run stopper. If they shut down Tevin Coleman because he's more of an inside the tackles runner, then they're gonna start. Then they're gonna experiment. They're either gonna bring in Raheem Mostert or they're gonna bring in Matt Britt, the two of the fastest running backs in the league. It's
by the way, Mostert hit 21.8 miles per hour on one of his touchdown runs last night.
It'll be a whole different dynamic.
So you think the 49ers could beat the Packers with Garoppolo throwing for 130 yards?
I do, because there's two things that are going to happen.
Hold on. First of all, Garoppolo threw for 77 yards, and the Niners. I went on for a few more things there. Basically, I talked about college use check and a few other things, which never had to be anything. And then, so the Garoppolo 103 yards there. And then we got to move ahead like 10 minutes in our conversation because it was very long. And Sean, I apologize for taking up so much of your guys' time that night. But we can get to this part.
I like the Packers 28-20.
Wow.
Ron?
Packers. What do you say, Ron?
I'm kind of leaning towards the Packers as well.
Really?
I just think Garoppolo has one of them games where he turns it over a few times, and Aaron Rodgers just has an Aaron Rodgers type game.
He pounces on them.
Nope.
Yeah, me personally, I just look at the Niners defense and I say, I just look at that and go, good luck.
But I think the
Sean got it right.
So there's one smart guy in that group.
I don't want to come across as I'm like downing your team because we had a little sports debate, but
it's fine.
I just think Garoppolo has one of them games where he turns it over and they just can't overcome it.
Okay.
I also think that while Aaron Rodgers obviously has the playoff.
Hold on, there was something else that I thought was interesting here that I pointed out.
Wait, I think defense.
27-17.
There was my final score, 27-17.
The Niners, as Green Bay's just in like garbage time, trying to get down the field. I think the Niners get a cheap, fumble or pick or something that sets
Richard Sherman got the pick.
them up for another quick score. I don't think it's going to be a laugher like the last time they played, but I think the final score is going to be a lot different. It's going to tell a different story than what the actual game was, but I think it's going to be 10 or more for San Francisco.
Nailed that one too. So,
Jesus Christ.
I had that mindset and that success rate for the entire season for our picks because that was like my shining moment of the entire season. Everything else was fucking garbage. But holy shit, that got loud. I wanted to, point that out to everybody that, I did go on,
especially Sean,
and fix things. Right a couple wrongs, if you will, for us here on the West Coast. But the game was ridiculous. The Niners put up 27. Did I pay for that haircut? Yeah, I paid for my haircut. 27-0 at half. Aaron Rodgers, more so than anyone, looked completely defeated. He looked dejected. He looked like he wanted to go home. At the end of the half, the looks on his face, I was like, he wants to leave. He doesn't want to be there the rest of the game. And, Rodgers still had a Rodgers game.
Half of his team felt that same way, too. I mean,
they looked terrible.
There was a picture of those guys sitting on the bench, and I can't remember after what score it was, or I think it might have been after the fumble that they lost. And it's just blank stares, just nothing but blank stares.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like you almost started to feel bad for him. Like, this is a championship game, and they're like, "Can we just go home?" His body language was bad. I mean, everything was just bad. But Rodgers still had a good game, 31 for 39. He had 2 touchdowns, 326 yards. He did throw 2 interceptions. Mosley and Sherman picked him off. But And Devontae Adams had a big game. I mean, a lot of them came on that one chunk play from when Sherman just got burned. I mean, and Sherman looked old in that play. He looked old. It was, but 9 for 138 doesn't do anything for you when you can't stop the run. And I was watching the game with Albert last night, and he made a great point. He said all of this that Aaron Rodgers is doing means absolutely nothing if they can't stop the run. And Green Bay had no answer. Raheem Mostert, after Tevin Coleman went out with a separated shoulder, after 6 carries, Coleman was out. Mostert had 29 carries for 220 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns in the first half. I mean, there was nothing that Green Bay could do to stop the 49ers passing game or the running game. And Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 8 times. They made a point on the air that he went 90 minutes in real time without throwing the ball. An hour and a half of the game in real time, not football clock, but in actual time without even throwing the pass. And that's phenomenal to me that they were able to do that the way that they did. And I think that honestly is going to be a huge plus going into the Super Bowl. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. But I'm shocked in a way that the Niners essentially embarrassed Green Bay twice this season, because it's one thing to beat a team twice. It's another thing to put up 37 twice on a team like Green Bay. And yeah, they scored 20, but a lot of it was late in the game. The Niners loosened up on D. They stopped blitzing. I think they stopped showing their hand. They stopped, doing different schemes and whatnot. Sherman made redeemed himself for the burn he got on the Devontae Adams play by basically outrunning Adams on the second one, getting the interception. All around, the Niners looked fantastic. Robbie Gould was kicking the ball straight as an arrow. First kick was from 54 yards, so that's a big positive as well. Up and down, the Niners there wasn't one aspect of that game. I mean, maybe you say quarterback because Rodgers had the better numbers, but hard to even say if quarterback play was better on Green Bay's side, because Garoppolo basically didn't play. They could have put Nick Mullins in there, and they just let Mostert run the ball 29 times. Like, it really,
he didn't have to do anything,
right?
And I think that's what's fun about this team is, and why Kansas City should be scared is they have that run, they have that running game, they have the defense. If for some reason Kansas City can shut down the running game, which I'm not really sure they can, Garoppolo can throw it. I mean, he's got some weapons. So, they just didn't have to do a whole lot. I knew after I think the first series they went 3 and out. The second series is when they started to run. And I think 3 and out, I think there was at least 1 or maybe 2 throws in there. After that, they just started running, and not only were they getting out physical, they were getting outsmarted. I saw a play earlier today where they just left one of their defensive linemen go completely unblocked, and he just took himself out of the play because he was rushing, and he was going after Garoppolo. And by the time he got to Mostert was behind him.
Yeah, so, and not only that though, but there was a couple plays where they tried to, the offensive line of Green Bay looked like they had already given up on the Niners pass rush. I mean, there was one play where Bosa goes to do a swim move. The tackle just sticks his arms out, and Bosa basically just bitch slapped him and pushed him off to the side. It was like they're not even trying, and that was a clear path for Bosa. Debo's the X factor; he would make a play or two and give them a boost. Yeah, Debo
absolutely
looked like a 15-year vet yesterday. He was in the way he was running on the field. I mean, like I said, top to bottom, and Ryan just said it too. San Francisco looked like a complete team, completely top to bottom. They outmatched Green Bay in every way possible, and it was. I mean, you want a better game in a way. The issue is, so James says the issue is how Kansas City goes on 21-0 streaks. Indy has the blueprint. They hassled Mahomes and sacked him 4 times, and they ran the ball 52 times. That's San Francisco to a T. they went up 20. They went on 21-0 streaks, but they haven't played a defense like San Francisco yet this year. Tennessee is great defense. Don't get me wrong, but Tennessee doesn't have a front-to-back defense like San Francisco has. I will give Kansas City credit where credit is due. They did win the game yesterday against Tennessee, 35-24. They fell down 17-7 early. You know, things were looking, you can't say grim because it looked exactly like they did the week prior against Houston. I'm not sure that they can start off that slow against San Francisco. I don't think the Niners defense will allow for them to score. If the Niners get up 17-0, it's going to be a lot harder for Kansas City to come back. The Niners defense is just that good because at that point they're passing the ball. The Niners will rush for. Houston's D was no joke, but J.J. Watt wasn't the same player. Some of their guys on the defensive line were banged up. Yeah. Their defense was no joke most of the season, but they are not the same. Josh says we're a way different team than when we played Indy. Yeah, but San Francisco's a lot different team than when they've played anybody this year as well. So yeah, it's gonna be. What's up, TJ? TJ saying hi from Disneyland.
So I think the one thing that Kansas City has, and I know you said that the defense can't stop them in those quick strike type situations, but I don't know. I mean, I think Mahomes can put the team on his back. I think one of the benefits that a running game gives you is you eliminate possessions and you eliminate the chance for the other team to have the ball. Well, with Mahomes, that doesn't matter because they can score in however long they want to take to score. So if they get the ball, they'll have it. They could have it for 2 minutes and score, and then give the ball right back to the Niners. And a couple of stops by Kansas City, and the Niners are in trouble. So this isn't going to be. What's that?
That's true. I'm not saying it's an easy game. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy game by any stretch. Josh says the Niners hasn't played an offense like Kansas City. Well, no, they haven't, but they did play the Saints. The Saints have a pretty high-powered offense. The Niners were banged up in that game. Yeah, they gave up 46 or whatever the hell it was, but they've seen high-powered offenses. They've seen Baltimore's offense was just as high-powered at the time we saw them. That game is a bit of a wash because of the rain. James, I'm not as worried about Kelsey as a lot of people are. The Niners cover tight ends about as good as anybody else in the league does.
There really hasn't been a tight end that's hurt us all year.
Yeah, there hasn't been. So, I mean, like I said, though, give Kansas City credit. They held Derrick Henry to 69 yards, which is ridiculous. But Kansas City, I mean, Derrick Henry he's kind of a one-dimensional runner. He just puts his head down and blows through you. The Niners, with their 3 running backs, I think pose a much different threat than Derrick Henry does, just because there's so many different ways you can go with it. You could run the ball with. We might as well jump right into Super Bowl talk. The Chiefs beat the Titans. It wasn't even as close to the game as we thought it was going to be. The Niners run the ball with Coleman in between the tackles, and he's your bruiser back. You have Mostert, who he can hit the holes like anybody in the league. And then you have Breida, who's another back that comes out of the backfield, who's quick, who's fast, who does different things. But the Niners' offensive line doesn't get enough credit for the running game being as good as it is. That offensive line, the tight ends that we have out there with Kittle and with number 82, I can't is it Swoley? Wait, whatever his name is. They pancake. They literally just put people on ice skates and slide them back. They completely dismantle run defenses, and it's gonna be one of those games where it's gonna be back and forth. It's not gonna be a blowout. There's no way that the Chiefs aren't in a game completely. But like Sean just said, I believe the Niners are a better all-around team. They're not as explosive as Kansas City is on offense. The offense on Kansas City is a force to be reckoned with. But Dwelly, there you go. I knew it was out there. The Chiefs are a quick scoring team. The Chiefs are, if they have to get into a shootout and they need to score, quickly and get back into a game, they have the weapons to do that. And that's something that scares me. But the Niners offense with the running game and the passing game, they're going to eat up clock. They're going to make it a lot more of a thing where it's going to be a bit of necessity that they move fast. Like Kansas City, I don't think is going to have the ability to slow things down. They haven't done that before. And if the Niners can get an early lead, or if their defense can get an early lead, no, Josh, that's 100% not correct. He says he disagrees. He says the Chiefs defense is better than the Niners offense. You stop the run, you stop the Niners offense. And that is something that I will disagree with up and down the line as until I'm blue in the face. The Niners offense,
they didn't need it over the weekend. They haven't needed it in the last couple of games. So here's my take on this. I think there's one key player that is going to have a good game for the 49ers, and that's Kyle Juszczyk. He has to have a good game. He's going to be that difference between the speed of the other running backs and the power. So he's going to be kind of that combination of Derrick Henry and kind of bring that power back in there. Plus with his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, he's got to have a good game. The other thing that can't happen, and this is where I don't quite agree with what Josh just said, but I can see his point, and that is the 49ers cannot get down early. They can't get down 20 points like the Chiefs have the last couple of weeks. I don't know if they could even get down maybe 14, but much more than that, no, because I don't know that their offense can bring them back from that. Their passing game is good, but it's not nearly as good as the Chiefs passing game is. They need to make sure that the defense can't have any mistakes. So Sherman can't get beat like that, because if Sherman gets beat like he did yesterday, he's not stopping him at the 30. That's a touchdown.
Right.
And the speed that Kansas City has on the outside, that's another scary point. So the defense is going to have to step their game up, and they're going to have to play. They're going to have to try to shut down. I don't think Kansas City's even going to try to run. I'd be surprised if at the end of the game Kansas City has more than 15 running attempts. Maybe 10 if you take Mahomes' attempts away. They're going to have 8 to 10 rushing attempts. Everything else is they're going to be throwing the ball. So the Niners are going to have to clamp down. Just one misstep, one slip.
Mahomes is yeah, but Mahomes is just as capable of having a bad game too, throwing interceptions, getting sacked, getting out. Tennessee got to Mahomes quite a bit this week, and really knocked him off his beat. Now he is a superhero. Like there's no doubt about that. And Josh, I will agree with you. Jimmy Garoppolo cannot hang with Patrick Mahomes. If it gets into a shootout, it's gonna be a problem. But if you just look at the playoff teams, Kansas City is ranked 9th out of 12 in defense on the passing side of the ball, averaging 279 yards a game. On the with rushing, Kansas City is 3rd. They're averaging 90 yards a game in 2 games, where the Niners are averaging 41 yards given up a game. That's freaking ridiculous. But like I said, and the Niners can't blitz. I'm starting to think that Josh hasn't watched very many 49er games this year, because the Niners, one, they don't need to blitz because their defensive line is good enough to get past the pass rush or the offensive line, but they've been blitzing when needed. They haven't unleashed the full defense. They didn't have to unleash the full defense last week. And I think, and I alluded to it earlier, one thing that's going to be extremely beneficial, they had 1 sack and 1 QB pressure. Again, like I just said, the Niners didn't open up the whole playbook. There was no need to. They were up 27-0 without even giving it a go. They basically played prevent defense with a 4-man rush or a 3-man rush the entire game. They let basically Rodgers do whatever he wanted to do. Like, yeah, they didn't have a lot of pressure on him, but that's not going to be the case against Kansas City. They're going to have to do exactly what they tried to do against Lamar Jackson. And I think that if they would have had dry field conditions, they would have done that against Lamar Jackson. And that's contain the outside and make Patrick Mahomes beat him. Now, will Patrick Mahomes have a better chance of beating him than Lamar Jackson did? Absolutely. But I think you're underestimating the Niners' run offense. You're underestimating their passing game. There's going to be all season long, people have been looking past the 49ers, not giving credit where credit is due. The Niners are going to have 2 weeks to prepare for Patrick Mahomes and that offense. And we've seen what we have seen as far as we being 49er fans and what the 49ers have seen. We know what Kansas City is going to throw out there. You have to contain Mahomes. You have to, watch for the deep ball with Tyreek Hill and with Sammy Watkins. Okay, that's a given. But the difference in these two games is Kyle Shanahan built up an entire playbook in case there was a shootout against Green Bay. He had the whole playbook on offense ready to go. Raheem Mostert basically allowed the 49ers 4 weeks of offensive prep by not having Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the football. They don't have to worry about Kansas City now having film on 90% of their playbook going into into the Super Bowl. And Keyshawn Johnson was on ESPN today, and a bunch of people, and they weren't just, and they can keep Mahomes off the field. Exactly, Ryan. And it wasn't just like talking heads, but fans of other teams saying, oh, well, look at Garoppolo. He only threw the ball for 67 yards, as if that was a negative. To me, that was one of the biggest positives from the game, is that Garoppolo didn't have to throw the ball. And it's not because I was worried about Garoppolo throwing the ball into coverage or throwing interceptions or whatever it might have been. It was the fact that everything that they worked on in that game, everything that they drew up, any kind of trickery, any type of special play that Kyle Shanahan developed, there's not film on it. It's not like they have to go, okay, well, that one worked. We're going to try to tweak it. We're going to try to run it again. They have basically 2 games now worth of offense that they can implement into the Super Bowl. And I mean, yeah, they're going to pull out every bag of tricks that they have, right? But now that bag just got a lot bigger. And I think that would be something that Kansas City's defense should be a little bit worried about, because you literally gave Kyle Shanahan a secret weapon, an ace in the hole to get ready for this game. And I think like I said, that's one of the biggest positives that came out of this game, is that they didn't have to waste any special plays. They didn't have to waste any offense. They didn't know what they were going to do. The 6 balls that he completed of 8 were basic throws, quick slants to Debo, a slant to Kittle across the middle for a first down, and out to Sanders. Like, there wasn't anything outside of a rookie quarterback goes out and makes the basic timing throw. That should be something that worries Kansas City's defense, or Kansas City fans, or whoever you want to talk to.
Yeah, I mean, I think
next week, Josh, we'll set it up.
This is definitely going to be a fun game, just because of the completely different styles that these two teams play, both on offense and defense. And it's gonna come down to turnovers, and it's gonna come down into mistakes. And the Niners defense can't afford to make any mistakes. Garoppolo, there's a chance he's going to throw a touchdown or a interception or 2. But the 49ers have to have his back, or the defense has to have his back and make stops. There are so many ways this game can go. There's just not one direction that you can point in to say, if this happens, or this happens, this is how the game's going to end up. I mean, I've already said 3 or 4 things that, well, that we can talk about in terms of having to either the Niners or the Chiefs have to make sure either happen or doesn't happen in order for this game to turn out the way they want it to.
And obviously next week we're going to go ahead and we're going to break down, we'll look at both sides of the ball. We'll see who has the advantages on, what side. I honestly feel this is a 50-50 matchup no matter which way you look at it. And we'll get it more into depth, next week. We'll have Josh come on. He's a huge Chiefs fan, but I honestly feel like it's 50-50. You have the Niners offense versus the Kansas City defense, which probably is going to be a bit of a wash. Depending on, if they can stop the run or not, or, what Garoppolo comes up with. And then, the Niners defense versus Kansas City's offense, it's going to be pretty damn close to a wash as well. I don't think you can give that nod indefinitely. Offense. They're super powerful. And I could be 100% wrong and they put up 50 and the Niners get blown out of the water. It's extremely possible that it could happen that way, but I just don't think this defense is susceptible to just getting blown out. To be.
Well, and the one time that they did give up a shitload of points, the offense was in sync, and they scored a shitload of points against
the
New
defense
Orleans.
Was up. No D Ford, no Quan Alexander, no Jaquiski Tart. I think Jimmy Ward was banged up. They didn't have Mosley. That might have been the game that Sherman missed as well. Like, there's a lot in that Saints game that you could look at and go, oh, wow, look how bad they were. But in reality, the defense was banged up. The offense was clicking on all cylinders. The Niners can put up 50. They did it against Carolina. They almost did it against New Orleans. They put up 37 twice against Green Bay. It's not gonna be a simple bang bang. The Chiefs just put up 100 points and you lose. I'm sorry, it's just not gonna happen. It's going to be very well balanced.
And on the flip side, it's not going to be the Niners just running Absolutely. For 300 yards or 250 yards and only throwing for 77. They both teams have to play a complete game. Whoever plays the best complete game is going to win that game.
I honestly think it's going to come down to one of the defenses. Like you said, it's going to come down to a turnover. It's going to come down to a 4th down stop or a 3rd down stop or special. Right. I mean, special teams. Hardman's either going to have a big return or the Niners coverage teams are going to make a big play. There's going to be something. There's a lot of thing to look at too, and we'll get into it again next week, is there's a lot of key players in this game that are young players that don't have experience in the big game. Is nerves going to get to them? Is there going to be a situation where Hardman, a rookie returner, muffs a punt, muffs a kickoff, tries to do too much? Does Deebo try to do too much? We've seen him do that a few times now where he tries to get a little bit extra on a run. He tries to do too much on a spin move. Does that cost him a game? Mahomes hasn't been there, but Garoppolo has. And Garoppolo's seen, he hasn't played in the game, but he's seen it 4 times with Brady. Like, you don't think he learned a lot from Brady for prep and for different things? Andy Reid's been there once, but they got beat. Shanahan's been there as an offensive coordinator, so you can't put all that on him, but, he's
got
been
beat.
Well, so there's a lot of intangibles. Sherman will not be on Hill. They will have a man-to-man on Hill, and then they'll do their normal flip around on everyone else. Or they keep things the same, how it's been working. Michael Thomas didn't kill the defense against the Saints. Devontae Adams had a couple, but Sherman made up for it. The touchdown that Rodgers threw in the back of the end zone, Jaquiski Tart had a brain fart and just dove in on a pass that wasn't there. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. Deebo's fucking running back in the open field. Deebo is insane for being a rookie. But that's pretty much what I had this week. I wanted to talk about the games. I wanted to kind of tease next week. Next week, we're going to do our year-end awards. We're going to talk about this a lot more. And we're just going to get pumped up. Oh, breaking news. The Niners put out an announcement today that they have decided that they're not going to send any 49ers to the Pro Bowl. I'm guessing the Chiefs will do the same thing. I just thought it was funny that they put out an announcement that said, no, thanks. And it had all their.
They don't. I mean, the 2 Super Bowl teams never go to the Pro Bowl.
It's a joke, Broza. Come on. The Niners put out a press release today with a photo of all of their Pro Bowlers, and it just had a big stamp on it that said, "No, thank you."
I get jokes.
Yeah, do you? But with that being said, I mean, next week we'll dive into it a lot deeper. We'll be on a regular time next week. We'll get into everything we need to get into. But yeah, it's fun. It's gonna be one of those things where we're ready for football. Next week's gonna suck. No football. I'm not watching the goddamn Pro Bowl.
No.
And then we'll recap the Super Bowl. We'll probably do our Super Bowl show on Monday because there's no way in hell we're doing a show after and we have to preview the biggest weekend in football starting the weekend after the Super Bowl. And that is the launch of the XFL. Debuts February 8th. It's going to be fantastic. And next week we have Royal Rumble too, so we'll probably talk about that a little bit on the show too, since we'll have nothing else.
No, you'll talk about it.
No, I know how much you love the Royal Rumble.
Hey, by the way, big news in the WWE this week.
What's that?
Sad news in the WWE.
Oh, the Rock's dad passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, now. That's from when I used to watch it and growing up. Is Rocky Johnson? Rocky Johnson was badass.
You also have to know that your favorite guy, WWE champion, is also entering the Royal Rumble at number 1.
I don't know who that is.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, number 1 entrant at the Royal Rumble.
Mr. Steroid Monkey.
Monkeys never claps.
See that timing right there?
You like that? That was good.
Monkeys never claps.
And then next week we'll do the Greggies, so that'll be there. And I think that's it. So
I got a couple topics I want to hit on after the Super Bowl or after kind of in that downtime because it's more kind of just reactionary type stuff that I've been kind of sitting on. So looking forward to it. Huh?
So that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So that pretty much wraps up episode 301. We will see you guys next week. So for Greg Veroza, I'm Greg Bowl. Episode 301, Super Bowl, Niners, Chiefs. It's going to be a good one.
Good night, Sammy.
See you guys next week.
Good night, Sammy.
You're ridiculous.